But we've seen both, right? We've seen the good and the bad and in between. And I think, the partners who are, built around the core technologies. I think this is why the Anchorage Digitals of the world will win out over the Chases of the world. I think there's going to be a whole new breed of what we're seeing is an evolution of finance right now. There's going to be a whole new layer built, not a side layer. It's going to replace some of the banks. I'm not going to say names, but there's a whole new infrastructure being built on technology, trust, distribution, decentralization, and it takes a whole new way of thinking. You almost can't re-engineer I know I work with all these banking cores. You almost can't re-engineer the existing system. You just got to build a new system and work with that until you can work the cost that they sunk into that system out of the equation. It can take 20, 30, 40 years. This is what the cycles. I think this next commodity cycle of technology is going to be about increasing the pace at which, and that's why in the last, 15 years with Bitcoin, 16 years, it's been such a fast evolution in this space. And think about some of the more novel technologies, even like smart contracts, only been around, 10 years, 9 years, 5 years. And look at the proliferation. So
Alrighty, so that was John Wingate. He is the CEO of Bank Social. And as you all heard, this is the proliferation of finance. They're creating a new financial system. He even mentioned working in the core banking system. And so in today's video breakdown, we are going to be going over Bank Social, some recent developments, and some things that I'm taking a look into as to why I'm adding this digital asset to my portfolio with the long-term horizon that they will be major market participants in this future digital asset landscape. Before we dive into this, I want to play one more video clip of him actually mentioning at a recent Digital Fusion Summit in Dallas, Texas, recently, April 24th, 2025. You can see that this is relatively fresh. But this gentleman also goes on to mention them integrating Ripple Pay into their core settlement infrastructure, which I also thought was excessively bullish in my personal opinion, just because it goes to show, Ripple's credentials, all of their partnerships and their, very deep interconnected networks, and then them bringing on board Bank Social. So one more video clip before we dive down this rabbit hole, and then I'll have a couple of other video clips to play throughout this presentation for you guys. In today's video breakdown, just keep in mind that none of this is financial advice. This is my general overview of this project, as some community members had asked me to do a deep dive on this. This is my general deep dive. I did about 48 hours of research with the CYPRX team members, and this is just some of the stuff that we dug up and came across. So always make sure that you're going out and doing your own personal research. This is not financial advice. I'm just showing you guys why I'm confident in adding this to my portfolio, looking at the partnerships, looking at some recent developments, and taking a look at what it is that they're bringing to the table and who they're working with. All right, so last but not least, let's just take a second and listen to this last statement where he goes on to mention them integrating Ripple at this recent event.
I think it's about, really embracing the people leading the space because they understand the space the best. And they're going to deliver this whole new financial infrastructure. I definitely think that there will be leaders. I think we see a lot of the community banks. We see a lot of the credit unions, cooperatives around the world, not just here, but around the world. International payments with Ripple. We've actually integrated Ripple. Here's some cool, not integrated, but integrating. Yeah, can I get some claps? That's pretty cool. Into Ripple Pay, into our international settlement. And we're doing this because our ability to mitigate fraud, to see where money's coming from, to look at and put, smarter AIs on.
Okay, so you guys heard it directly from this gentleman. John Wingate mentioned that they're integrating Ripple Pay into their core settlement infrastructure, which again, I just think just goes to show, their commitment to longevity in this space. So starting here, banksocial.io. This is their X profile where it says Bank Social is leading the global financial evolution through DeFi and DLT innovations. Always make sure that you're just clicking the proper links. You can see here is their banksocial.io website. Heading over here to their website, one of the things that stood out the most to me is where it says right down here, as you heard John Wingate mention, that they are working on, building out a whole entire new infrastructure, working with core banking partners. And it says, start moving money like the big boys. Big banks and flashy apps don't own innovation anymore. Credit unions and community banks are taking it back. Neuron turns any institution, no matter what the size is, into a fintech force that can outpace Robinhood, Venmo, and Cash App, launch in days, and they can start shaking up the industry in day one. So, this is a product that they offer where you can click get started, go read a little bit more about that. And then right down here, they have different financial institutions and credit unions um, talking about their experience with Bank Social and integrating Bank Social into, their infrastructure. And so just go thoroughly through, read some of these highlights. Definitely interesting to say the least. Coming back over to another video clip. In this video clip, this gentleman, John, goes on to mention how they are talking to the Fed, which is going to play a very important role here in just a second, how they work with large banks, and how they also have been in talks and communication with Congress, and how the future will be bright. Just take a second here and listen.
Yeah, awareness of where you hold your assets, just, how they're regulated, what they're doing, what partners they have. We even see technologies commoditized nowadays. So, you can literally jump into an Uber and plug into a cord that's got a device to read. And with the type of vulnerabilities, I could go into vulnerabilities. We won't go that deep, but there's been some JavaScript vulnerabilities in the JavaScript VM that allows for things to happen. So, I think it's definitely a good practice to, to some degree to spread asset allocation. I think it's good to, when in public, especially when you're traveling as a public figure, to not, put your device into situations, like you said, keep it air gapped, keep your big holdings air gapped, and utilize multi-factor to the best extent possible. A lot of these custodial solution and even other solutions, they have multi-factor components to them. There's no way to really eliminate all the risks. I think is a really important thing too. You can just minimize them. Just like I want to caveat this.
The reason why I'm playing this video clip is we're going to get into a product that they offer later on in this video breakdown. It's a cold storage solution that Bank Social themselves have launched. We'll get into a little bit about that later, but just listen here to what he says about how they've been talking to the Fed and Congress. And so, when people say that, those, in my opinion, are projects you should be paying attention to, because nobody can just go and talk to Congress and the Fed about this digital transformation and the restructuring of the financial system. And him openly saying this at a recent event, again, in my opinion, garnishes our attention.
Just by saying we work with banks, we provide payment systems and pay. Guys, this is happening in banks too, right? The thing that makes this new solution really cool, to me at least, because we're living it right now, is when a fraud happens in a bank, I can't call that bank and then say, where did it go? And then call the next bank and say, where? We actually have the opportunity now to much more quickly pinpoint, hone in, freeze, mobilize, recover, and go back to normal, right? And there are even new, manifestations of kind of chain configurations that allow for blacklisting of wallets. So these systems are becoming more robust, right? I think they're all ready to, in my view, with what we've done and what we've been a part of, they're already as good as traditional banking rails. We're doing things that you can't do with traditional banking rails. We just had a congressman in our office this today, right before this. We just, we're talking with the Fed chair. This is stuff that they understand. So I want to caveat everything we're saying up here, not to put fear into you, but to actually give you some insight into how to remain more secure and have some real love for the future, because it's going to be great.
Right? I mean, come on now. He just said that they had a congressman in their office and they were talking with the Fed chair. That's Jerome Powell. Okay. And he seems pretty happy. He's smiling on stage saying that the future is going to be great and that everybody should be optimistic. Now, obviously, of course, we can't trust somebody in a suit with a nice smile, but let me show you guys some of the details behind the scenes that have been taking place. So, this is recent from just a day ago. All right. LATAM is writing crypto's next chapter, and look who's sitting front and center. John Wingate last week marked a major milestone in the global digital asset movement. Bank Social CEO John Wingate spoke at the first ever government-led Web3 event in Latin America, hosted by the Legislative Assembly of Bolivia. The event brought together leaders from 20 of the region's largest banks alongside key financial regulators to explore the future of digital asset legislation. From La Paz to Santa Cruz, one thing was clear: LATAM is ready to lead. Bank Social was proud to represent the decentralized finance community in this critical conversation, advocating for inclusive infrastructure. As you heard him mention literally on the stage just recently at an April event, they're building out a new infrastructure, real world regulatory clarity frameworks, and financial futures that leave no one behind. Here it says, also, this is another, actually, matter of fact, let's pause right there. I just want to show you guys John Wingate on his X profile. Interestingly enough, actually follows me, which kind of blew my mind. There's a lot of interesting people that follow me. But he posted this out, and here are just inside pictures of him at this whole entire event. You know, like proof is in the pudding. Here he is at this event, which is just really great to see considering some of the things that he just recently said on stage. In this Bank Social blog, there was another major announcement that I want to orient your attention to. It says here, we are excited to announce that Donald Burke has joined Bank Social. With over 25 years of experience in financial services, including senior leadership at Northern Trust, Donald has guided the industry from early internet to the front lines of Web3. His background spans in corporate banking, wealth management, and large-scale retail solutions, making him uniquely positioned to help bridge the gap between legacy finance and next-gen blockchain infrastructure. As Bank Social continues to build the financial systems of tomorrow, we're proud to have Donald's expertise helping drive the mission forward. So, who is this dude, Donald Burke? This is where it's going to tie in the Metallicus thing and what the gentleman just said, John, about him talking to the freaking Fed chair. Well, check this out. So, if we come over here again to the Bank Social post, it says, welcoming Donald Burke to Bank Social. And it just goes over his synopsis, over 25 years of banking experience. So, who is this dude, right? Why is it so important? Well, if we come over here, you can see that he worked at Metallicus for 3 years and 3 months as the chief operating officer and a board member. Here's his credentials, where he also worked at a major large institution like Northern Trust and Wells Fargo. And now he is the head of strategic partnerships at Bank Social. And just to confirm these credentials, I went over to Metallicus, and they actually still have Donald Burke in their blog information when this announcement took place from a couple of years ago, where Donald Burke was appointed as the chief operating officer at Metallicus, right? Interestingly enough, now he's come over to Bank Social. Well, if you guys remember what this gentleman here, John, just recently said at this 2025 event, mentioning that they had congressmen in their office and they spoke to Jerome Powell, the Fed chair, about the transformation of this new build out of the infrastructure.
As good as traditional banking rails. You know, we're doing things that you can't do with traditional banking rails. You know, we just had a congressman in our office this today, right before this. We just, you know, we're talking with the Fed chair. This is stuff that they understand.
Well, if we come over to the Federal Reserve FRBservices.org, this is their official website, and you type in the search results of Bank Social, and you click the very top FedNow Service Certified Service Providers, which was just recently updated in May 2025. All right. Well, if we come over here, I got to reshare my screen because it is a document that you have to download. Let me just show you guys real fast. Here is the FedNow Services Certified Service Providers as of May 19th, 2025. So it is updated information. This is not outdated. And we can see right here, Bank Social sitting right there at the top. And then if we come right down here, you can see Metallicus is also on this list right there. Okay. So I just find it interesting that an individual representative from Metallicus has now transferred over to Bank Social. They're on the FedNow certified service providers list as of May 19th, 2025. Back in April, he's talking on stage saying that he met with congressmen, the future transformation of this build out the new financial infrastructure, and he met with Jerome Powell. Okay, I just don't think that this stuff is a coincidence. This is the type of research that nobody is doing. Okay, so I just wanted to bring that to your attention yet again, with more confirmation that we're on to something here. Back to this breakdown. Okay, so now let's continue down the rabbit hole. Some other interesting things that I found. They have their own wallet. Okay, so this is the Bank Social wallet, which you can get at the getthewallet.com or directly on their website. There's a link for you to click. This is how you would go and acquire this asset. Again, not financial advice. You can buy it directly from their wallet. Now, you will need to KYC on this wallet. So they are KYC and regulatory compliant in that field, which we know all about Metallicus and them being KYC, Marshall Hayner, and that whole entire debacle. Aqua has done significant breakdowns on that before. They pretty much fall in line with those same KYC thresholds. Now, interestingly enough, down here it does say explore a self-custody crypto exchange offering self-custody staking rewards. So I confirmed with one of our private community members who got into this asset just the other night that you can stake this BSL token, or the Bank Social token. It is available on a multitude of different chains and networks. For example, you can see in the wallet, they have ERC20. It's on Binance, the BEP20. So it's multi-chain. And then it also says that it is available on HEDERA compatible wallets. Managing your digital assets effortlessly across popular blockchains like HEDERA, Bitcoin, and Ethereum, gaining control over your financial freedom. So I thought that I'd just touch on that little tiny partnership right there, because it says here on their website, the evolutionary BSL, that is the ticker symbol for this digital asset governance token, originated as a simple ERC20 token. Since then, many upgrades have been made, including an expansion to the HEDERA network, non-bridged, and smart contract upgrades to prepare for future endeavors. So lots of ongoing developments have recently taken place, and I'd like to see that expansion to other networks that we all know and have done deep research on, like HEDERA. Moving on, let's continue on some of their recent blogs. This is from April 13th, 2025. Now, this specific announcement via their AI and what it is that they plan to do, it says here, at Bank Social, the principle is central to everything that we do across our systems, whether they're member-facing workflows, employee productivity tools, or fraud detection engines. We don't rely on a single model to do it all. For example, we are currently in the process of rolling out 19 uniquely trained AI models just for financial data alone. And it goes into some of these models and their their configurations. One of the things that I find very interesting about this announcement is another thing that this gentleman, John, said on stage, where he talks about the future of agentic AI making payments for us directly from our virtual headsets, and how it's just all going to be automated in the future, which is kind of some things that we're already talking about in this private community, building out AI agents to trade and manage portfolios for us. Well, exactly what he says on stage aligns with what we're already talking about. So just take a second here and listen again to this little tiny video snippet.
Settlement. And we're doing this because our ability to mitigate fraud, to see where money's coming from, to look at and put, smarter AIs on the data so that they can be as proactive as possible. Just on financial models alone, we have, we're deploying over 19 different AI models. So I think you have to embrace the technologies that are leading the space, because again, traditional, Kyle Hoffman, who's the chairman of the NCUA, he always says this thing that I think is great. He goes, if you think crypto is used for, wait till you think about this, hear about this thing called cash, and it's true, right? Eventually, though, that won't be true. But eventually, when we get to where a majority of the world's money is moving on these types of ledgers, the ability to stop, freeze, hold, pull back, mitigate, monitor, it's all going to be happening in real time, right? We were talking about the future of payments, and we could see a place where, you see somebody, you recognize them, they say, send me $10. You say yes, and your agentic just took that as a confirmation because you're wearing glasses that did biometrics. That's going to be how payments work in like 5 years. Wait, okay? So yeah, this is gonna be the authentication, the real thing we need, right? And technology's
For the record, the gentleman sitting to his left, our right, is an ex-CIA agent, and he's sitting there shaking his head up and down as if he's confirming what this gentleman John here is saying about agentic AI controlling our transactions in the future via a blink from, an artificial intelligence goggle-oriented device that confirms our transactions. And this just kind of goes hand in hand. I always like to show backup information and credentials from other organizations that see this same vision. So, exactly what John just said on stage at a 2025 event, one of our researchers, Break Free from the Matrix, added this document, and we kind of talked about this yesterday on Carlton's Zoom. This is from DBS Business Class, the 2030 vision. And I just want to scroll down here to one significant highlight where it goes on to talk about personal AI agent assistants, look, virtual assistants, right? And in this document, it literally talks about redefining and re-architecting the human body, right? Hacking the human body, embedding microchips into the human body. A process known as biohacking is no longer a realm of science fiction. It is actually taking place. Keep in mind, the gentleman John said that this is going to happen in the next 5 years. Well, come on now, people. It is 2025. In 5 years, it is going to be 2030. This is the 2030 agenda. And look at what we see. AI virtual goggles. And if we come right up here, it mentions a new reality is being built out where, they're literally implementing artificial intelligence, virtual reality goggles into our everyday lives. The human genome is being recoded and a new reality is being created. You cannot make this stuff up. So clearly, this guy is tapped in, right? This guy is tapped into information that we all should be paying attention to. So I thought that I'd throw that in there as well. Moving on, a couple more different highlights and looking at some of their other partnerships. They're partnered with the likes of Google and some other major banking giants. It says here Bank Social has been on the road recently, engaging with credit unions. We know how deeply rooted Metallicus is with different credit unions. And we have seen now a previous representative from Metallicus, Donald, come over to Bank Social. They're members in the broader financial world at events like Google Cloud Next, Financial Brand, and the NACUSO conference. At NACUSO, we proudly highlighted a standout team from the Converge Accelerator, not just innovators, but as active collaborators. Their solution is now beginning to be integrated into the bank social ecosystem, reinforcing our commitment to turning grassroots innovation into real-world impact for credit unions, their members, and the world beyond. And if we come over here, just to solidify that partnership announcement, here is the Converge Institute, what they're about. And you can see right down here the partners, including Bank Social and Google, right? Moving on, this is just more confirmation, some HEDERA stuff. It says here, this is the HEDERA Hashgraph Association Web3 Hub Davos 2025 Summit. Here you can see the gentleman, John, the CEO of this organization, Bank Social, sitting on stage at this event. It says here, this was not just a photo op, it was a signal. Bank Social belongs in the rooms where the future is being architected. Game-changing partnerships with Google, major monumental announcements and moments for credit unions, that Bank Social officially teamed up with Google at this event to revolutionize credit union technology, and it's only just the beginning. Okay. So I thought that I'd bring that to your attention as well. Over here, where the gentleman on stage, John, was talking about safeguarding your digital assets. This is from March 26, 2025. This is a cold storage device that they introduced, SecuriTag. So at Bank Social, we believe in empowering users with tools that not only enhance security, but also simplify the way that you interact with your digital assets. That is why we created SecuriTag or Security. SecuriTag, okay, cool. Isn't just another security feature, it's a proximity-based hardware solution that protects a specific device and the wallet it is installed on. When paired, it ensures that sensitive wallet actions like sending funds can only be performed when your tag is physically nearby. This means only the device that you paired with your tag is protected, only the wallet installed on that device is affected, and if someone else gains access to your phone or computer but doesn't have your tag, they cannot move your funds. So in a nutshell, I won't break down too much in detail what it is or how it works. I will drop all these links for you guys to thoroughly read through on your own behalf so you can do your own research. But again, I just thought that I'd bring that to your attention. Last but not least, we can see them attending, a recent event in June. So just goes to show just some more recent developments. As of time of recording, it is only June 15th. So this is only just about a week old. But they attended an event with Google and Antler in Dallas recently. You can see here this event, the live AI Lone Star event that took place in 2025, including Google Cloud, Bank Social, that Converge Accelerator, where they're partnered with Google Cloud on that project. A couple of other organizations here who I'm not too familiar with. And here is that live event where you can see what they talked about, what they discussed, the Bank Social logo right there in the back. So, just massive developments and ongoing partnerships that I feel like have not garnished enough attention. It's almost as if this project has completely flown under the radar. And what I find interesting is that we are seeing some major names here. Like, look at this event attendees list, right? We got AT&T, you got Google Cloud. Okay, so I'm just trying to show you guys why I'm starting to give my attention to this project. I'm not sitting here saying that it's going to be the one, the know all, be all. It's going to freaking be the powerhouse of the new financial system. But we all know that we're entering into a multi-chain ecosystem where there's going to be many different market projects and participants that survive. And I have a firm belief, just based off the brief research that I've done, that this is going to be one of the many. So that is my breakdown for today. Hopefully, you guys enjoyed. I will drop all of these links so you guys have a foundation on where to start and thoroughly do your own research. Always start with the docs, the white paper, thoroughly clicking through all of their social media platforms, and just going back on their Twitter and looking at some recent developments, clicking open links, reading thoroughly through all them, and getting your own opinion on this project. This is not financial advice. Just because I'm adding it to my portfolio doesn't mean you guys should go out there and do the same. This project could be a failure in the future, who knows? But based off the research that I've done this far, I'm gaining some confidence in this project to add it to my portfolio. So, yeah, that's my spiel on this. I will leave the floor open for questions. Many blessings to you guys. I hope that you all enjoyed. And with that being said, I'll leave the floor open.